Hey loves, Zeta here. So today I'm going to make a video talking all about the quarter life crisis. I am specifically going to share with you my experience and how I dealt with it, as well as some tips. So if you're interested in a quarter life crisis video, then keep watching. So first, let me explain what the heck is even a quarter life crisis. For me, it's a moment in your 20s when one day you wake up and you realize, hey, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not working the job that I want. Actually, I freaking hate my job. I'm not living where I want to live. I'm not making the money I want to make. Aren't I supposed to be getting married? Aren't I supposed to be having babies? I really don't want to do any of that, and you just really feel up against the wall because not only are you not doing what you want to be doing, but you're not even on the right track. And it feels very frustrating because it feels like time is slipping between your hands and you don't know how to get a grasp on anything. So you realize that you're not as young as you used to be and you have to start making moves, but you kind of get analysis paralysis because you don't know where to start. And it just feels like you're stagnant, like you're hopeless, and it can be a really depressing moment in your life if you let it be. So the good thing is, if at least you're having these thoughts, you're cognizant of the fact that there's more to life for you to achieve, for you to experience, for you to enjoy. You may have not tapped into that specific moment or stage in your life just yet, but you will get there, and thinking that you're ready is the first step that you have to take. Now, a big thing to keep in mind is that you're not going to get where you want to be by doing the same things, hanging out with the same people, following the same patterns that you've been doing for a long time that have kept you in this moment where you're not very content. And also, you have to keep in mind that going through a stage like this is just part of growing pains and transitioning into the next step of being an adult. So it's totally normal, and I know it's going to be okay as long as you're willing to work hard and think outside of your comfort zone. So aside from that, let me just go ahead and get into my personal experience and what I learned from it. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that by sharing this with you, I'm not wanting to shed myself like I was in a pity party, even though I was. I'm not anymore, and now I see past that. I also want to say that I'm happy that I went through these growing pains because it made me a more resilient version of myself, a more positive person. And I also want to say that I understand that there's people that go through tougher times than I ever have and ever will, but needless to say, everyone has their problems and we all have our ways that we deal with them. So let me get into it. Okay, so when I went through my quarter life crisis, I was actually 25, so that was 3 years ago, and I had just graduated college. And I was so excited because in my early 20s, I lived a pretty adventurous life. I would work 2 jobs at a time, I would save up all my money, and then I would travel abroad and be gone for maybe weeks or sometimes months, and I loved my life. And then I hit a spot where I realized that for me, graduating from college was important, so I kind of put a halt on that. I started working maybe 30 to 35 hours at a part-time job that I really wasn't fond of, but I did it because the benefits were good, the pay was good, and I needed to get myself through school. So I busted my butt. I was taking 5 to 6 classes at a time, working close to full-time, again, at a job that I wasn't loving, but I was doing it as a temporary sacrifice. So when finally I was able to graduate college, even though I was older, I was so excited, I was full of hope, and I knew I was going to get out of that job that I didn't care for, and I was going to be able to kick off my career, which was to me important. I know we all have our own goals, but that was something that I valued and saw as something that would make me feel more fulfilled. But of course, once graduation rolled around and reality sank in, I realized that nobody was hiring me, and I kept applying for jobs. I would go into interviews. I was very optimistic. I would get maybe sometimes 2 to 3 interviews at one job, and next thing you know, they wouldn't call me back, not even a rejection email. So of course, it started to get to me, a lot of rejection, working a job that I didn't like, and just things crumbling all around me for different reasons. I felt very depressed, very low. I've always been naturally someone that's very happy and excited about life, and I love making other people feel good about themselves and seeing the best, but at that moment, I no longer felt like that person. I just felt very defeated. Never in my life had I ever felt like that. I know you're probably thinking, hello, it's easy for anyone to have a hard time finding a job after college. But for me, I didn't realize and didn't really think that that was going to be the case because I wasn't just a young girl just graduating college. Like, I was a grown-ass woman, 25 years old, with a lot of work experience under my belt. But at that moment, I realized that it was a lot of work experience, but not in the right career, not in the right department. And I was freaking out because I felt like I'd wasted so many years of my life busting my butt, but in the wrong direction. And then on top of the job dilemma, some things happened at home where all of a sudden I was put in this position of magnified responsibility, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to handle it, but I knew that I had no other choice other than to do it. So I really had to put on my big girl panties and step up to the plate. And it was very stressful financially, mentally, and emotionally, to say the least. And that also meant that I couldn't just take any job. On top of the fact that it was really hard to find a job, I had to make sure that I found a job that was paying me what I was making at that moment, if not more. And that just added on to the stress and the difficulty that I was facing in finding a new job. So weeks went by and they looked like this. I would go into work, I would cry every single time. So I would literally walk into work, clock in, go to the back, put away my bag, go into the restroom, have a good crying session, come back out and start my shift. And I would do this every single time. Then my shift would end, I would clock out, go get my bag, leave, head home. Then I would leave my house because I didn't feel happy there. I felt depressed there. So I would ask my boyfriend, hey, can you take me out? I would ask him to take me out maybe like 2 to 3 times a week. So I was drinking a lot because I didn't have any goals. So that was the best thing that I could do, was just go and get tipsy and feel like I was happy for a little while, but I really wasn't. I was just doing it because I had obviously nothing better to do. And you would think that because I was going out all the time that I was just having this fun socialite life and hanging out with my friends and just relaxing, but I wasn't, because I was actually avoiding my friends. I didn't want to see them because I didn't want them to ask me how things were going, because I felt so sad and depressed that I wasn't where I wanted to be, especially at that moment in my life because of my age and my experience and just my own standards, that I didn't want to face reality. I didn't want to face people asking me like, hey, how's everything going? Because if they did, I was so emotional and frail that I would break down crying every single time. And I have a few friends that I would see sometimes for coffee or to catch up, and those are my friends that I was the most vulnerable with, and they know that every time they ask me, hey, how's it going, I would literally start crying and I couldn't help it. And I was never that person that was so sad. Like I said, I was usually someone that was full of life, excited and happy, but I just didn't know where that person had gone at that point in my life. And not to mention, I was very out of shape and I didn't feel comfortable in my body because all I was doing was feeding it junk and giving it alcohol. So I didn't even feel confident in that aspect of my life. So I was just out of my element, like emotionally, financially, career-wise, physically, everything that you could think of. I was just out of whack, and it was really hard for me to deal with and try to get myself out of that horrible stage in my life. I just really didn't know how the hell I was gonna get out of it, or if I ever was. And I was so afraid that I was changed, because you know, sometimes when you meet people and they change throughout the years and you don't see them, and then later on you run into them and they're like completely different, their demeanor's changed. I felt so afraid that my demeanor was gonna change from who I am and who I know myself to become this new person that I just didn't like, but I didn't know how to get out of. So needless to say, this went out for months, until one day I was on my bed in my bedroom and I had an idea, and I said, why am I struggling so much to find a job and try to build something for myself and not being able to find it when I can actually create something on my own? And I thought to myself, I deserve to have an opportunity with this company that I've been working for a long time. Because the thing is, I didn't like my job, but I liked the company. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just gonna email the CEO and I'm gonna ask him, hey, can I do a marketing internship? Even if I don't get paid, I'm just gonna ask him if I can. I'm just gonna try to see where this takes me. And the worst thing that he can do is either say no or ignore me. And at this point, people are calling me in for 2 to 3 interviews, not calling me back or even emailing me back. So I don't think that's really gonna hurt. So I stayed up trying to craft the perfect email, revising my resume, trying to make myself seem as polished as I possibly could. And the next morning, I went into work, I clocked in, I put away my bag, and instead of going to the restroom to cry, I went to the computer and started writing my CEO an email and asking him for an opportunity. And to make the story short, I ended up getting the internship, then getting it denied, then getting it again. And if you want to know exactly what happened, you can read my blog post down below where I share everything, even what I wrote to him. But even though there was a time when I was in the midst of working it, not working it, something went off on me, and I just felt like I was reignited into myself, but maybe even a better version of myself because of what I had gone through. Anyway, so this experience created a pivoting moment in my life again, because I felt, even if the internship had been denied or whatever thing could have happened where it may have not gone through. I felt like finally I was getting my confidence again, because I felt like if I could do this small thing outside of my comfort zone and it potentially brings some good things, it at least made me feel like I could do so many more things out of my comfort zone. I could try things outside of the box, and I could make my own rules, and I didn't have to listen to anything or anyone. I could just try to do my own thing to get where I wanted to be in my life. I brought on a lot of positive thoughts, and some of those thoughts consisted of, this is a big world. There are so many big opportunities out there. Something great has to happen for me or to me, whether it just is by coincidence or if I bring it on. I just have to work really hard, and I have to go after things, because if I don't, nothing's gonna happen. I have to step outside of my comfort zone. If one thing does not work, something else will. And I also thought that this is such a big world, it's impossible and ridiculous to think that I'm not gonna find what I love, that I'm not gonna find my calling, my passion. There has to be a way little pieces of life will work themselves out for me to get there. And like I said, it's just ridiculous to think otherwise, so you have to be consistent in believing in that. I also thought that my life and my time are so precious. How am I going to invest them? Am I going to be just wasting my time drinking all the time, entertaining things that I don't care about, working or doing things that don't matter to me? I thought to myself, I have to get out of this funk, and I have to utilize my time wisely. And I also thought that I have to stop feeling sorry for myself, because I really was in this huge pity party. I was just like marinating in it. It was so stupid. And I was so happy when I finally just, like I said, one day clicked out of that. It felt so great. And I know that this is something that a lot of us can deal with, which is I don't have to have all of the answers right now. A lot of the times we think like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Like, why am I here? Sometimes knowing what you don't like can just be as helpful as knowing what you do like, because that's the moment when you have to decide that you have to start pushing away those things or people that don't serve you, that don't interest you, that don't bring good things into your life. And I really took that to the heart, just to get rid of the things that I didn't care about, as well as realizing that I don't have control over everything, because I can try my best and give my 100%, but every little moment in life may not seem perfect and idealistic. But you have to at least you have to accept that sometimes you can only control certain things, and you have to be okay with that. You just are gonna do what you can and keep moving forward. And another thing that I was thinking to myself, that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, is that you don't have to fit into a certain mold, because I know that there's like a stereotype of what a perfect life should be, and you may see it online or talking to friends, and you're happy for them and happy for those people doing things that they wish, but that doesn't mean that your life has to be similar to that mold or even in that mold. You can be in that kind of lifestyle if you want it, but if you don't, that's completely fine too. You just take, like I said, one step at a time towards what you really like, and you start stepping away from the things that you don't really want in your life. The last one that I always literally tell myself when I feel like I'm starting to feel a little bit defeated or things are not going my way is that the harder the struggle, the greater the come up, because like I've said in my Monday Motivation newsletter, and I've thought to myself many times, is that people love success stories. They love to know how people went from high to down to back up and even higher than what they ever would think. But they have to go through that really hard struggle to get to that really great come up. So I always say that to myself, and I realize that I have to be patient with myself and my life journey, because not everything is going to happen overnight, and that's just the beauty of life. And so after thinking all these things and going through so many pity parties and just feeling so defeated in my life and depressed and embarrassed of where I was, I decided that I wanted to at least start taking control of the little things that I could. And I knew that I wanted to share my passion for motivation and positivity, and that's when I decided to start my blog. And for me, it was such a liberating moment, even though to some it may seem like something so small. To me, it was a big thing, because I felt like in that moment, it was the first thing in a long time that I felt like I had 110% control of, that I knew that I could grow and that I could invest in and that could help people. And so that's when I decided to start my blog. And another thing that I did after I started thinking about all these thoughts was I stopped drinking all the time. I started working out with my friend Dani. I started getting a little bit of muscle and started to feel a lot more confident in my body, and I was excited because I was trying something new. So that's another tip. If you feel like you are up against the wall in your quarter life crisis, try something new, whether it's like a workout class or something that, if tasks that you've left undone, pick it back up and see where it can take you. For me, working out was a big thing that helped me, and thank you to my friend for helping me with that. And then I worked my internship. I actually ended up working out, and when the internship ended, I didn't have a job lined up again. And instead of feeling sorry for myself, I did two things. One was I took all of my savings and I went back where I feel the most alive, because a lot of my friends know that I love Paris and that's where I want to live. So I took all the savings that I had and I left to Paris for 3 weeks by myself, and I just decided to, even if it was only for 3 weeks, that I would live the life that I wanted, which was to me to be there. So I went there and I took that as time to reflect. I cried a lot, I thought a lot, and I just was trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do with my life, because at that point I was 26, so I was getting closer to 30, and I'm like, what am I doing with myself? I took that time, I came back to Houston afterwards, went back to the job that I freaking hated, because that's all that I had as an option at the moment, and I did the best that I could there, because that's where I was planted. I grew. I was only there for about a month, but I was able to leave with a lot of dignity, because instead of going back and being bitter, I went back and did better, and I actually ended up doing so well that I was able to leave that place feeling like, you know what, I did the best that I could with what I had, and I then moved on to actually getting a full-time job in marketing, doing what I actually enjoy doing, and I felt so excited and happy, and like things finally started to come together into this big puzzle piece and making a beautiful picture, as fruity as that sounds. And after that, I ended up getting my apartment, which I was so happy about, because that was another insecurity of mine that I didn't like, that I still lived at home, and I kept working on my blog and evolving and trying new things to see what exactly I wanted to make of my little space, figuratively and physically. So that was basically the end of my quarter life crisis. After that, I felt a lot better. Of course, there's still some days where I still feel a little bit confused of what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm happy and I'm grateful for those moments now, because I kid you not, every single time that I feel insecure or lost again, I just take time to reflect and figure out what's causing those issues for me, and every single time something new comes to me and I'm able to, you know, break some new grounds and try something new and keep trying to evolve as a person. Because that, again, it's part of life, it's part of growing. Later on, I'll have a midlife crisis, and to tell you the truth, I've probably had quarter crisis 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and it might keep going. I'm just so grateful to be alive. Every single day I show gratitude, and I thank God that I'm here, that I have the opportunities that I have, and you should do the same, because there are so many people out there that wish they could have the opportunities that you do. And you are the one that has every bit of power to just take that and figure out what's the best that you can do with who you are, with what you have, with where you are. And needless to say, I know that you can get out of your quarter life crisis if you're going through one. And again, it's a good thing that you're going through it, because it means that you're cognizant of the fact that there's more to life, that you're going to achieve more, you're going to get there. You just have to be consistent. And I just want to share before I go some last little tidbits of tips to give you in case you're going through something similar or anything of the nature. So these are my actionable steps, and something that I would really suggest that you try is, first of all, if you're going through this tough time, is to think about why you feel like this. Is it because of your own expectations, or is it because of other people's expectations? Because maybe you really are happy with where you are, you just have people in your ear telling you different things, or you have these expectations from your family or whoever, and they're just not aligned with your true beliefs. Take a time and think about that. And if it's really not something that is stemming from within you, let it go. But if it is something that is coming from within you, then it's time to realize exactly why and start thinking of your goals and what's going to make you feel like you're going to break out of that. What can you do to start moving towards this next step of your life? Because this is your life, so you have to take ownership of it and do as you please, not as other people please, and you have to be honest with yourself of what exactly that means to you. And you may feel a little bit lost and confused, and you're like, you know what, I don't know what to do. Well, just take one step, because even if it's a baby step, you will see that that was gonna just build a big momentum for you to keep going and going and going and going and getting towards where you wanna be. But all it takes is that one little step, and it also takes you being courageous enough to eliminating people and things that are not serving you, because no one can do that for you except for you, and you have to get the backbone to do that. And sometimes it's not even bad people or even bad circumstances. A lot of the times it can be self-limiting beliefs, bad habits, bad thoughts, things that you may not even realize that you do when you're doing them, but later on you reflect, start thinking about those things and figure out how you can just improve yourself overall. And as you're doing all these things, keep in mind that you have to be patient, because like I said, life is a journey. Not everything's gonna happen overnight. You're not gonna have the perfect life and wake up. You just have to be able to see the things that you are blessed to have in the moment where you are and be grateful grateful for every little thing, because by being grateful is how you're going to bring in more of the things that you do want in your life, because you have to concentrate on the right things. You have to your energy to the right stuff, because the biggest power that you have is giving your energy to the right things. And by doing this, you're creating more of an opportunity for yourself to be where you want to be in maybe a year, 5 years, 10 years, who knows. There's just a lot of possibilities, but you have to stay positive and think about the things that you do want, and stop thinking and self-pitying so much on the things that you don't want. And again, like I said, you have to think to yourself, this is a big world. There's so many opportunities. There is something out there for me. I am meant to be happy somewhere in this big world, and I will get there. I just have to be willing to work hard, try new things, and be persistent. And you have to stay positive in your framework and keep yourself motivated. Some days you may fall, but you have to get back up and keep going, because it's part of life. Like I said, everything in life is like this, and like that. It's not just gonna be like this or like that. You have to keep that in mind again. And once you can let that sink in, you'll see that you're gonna become a lot more resilient. And the second to last thing that I have to share to really keep in mind while trying to reflect and figure out what's gonna be your next step is to keep in mind that you are young enough to still shape your path, but you're old enough to where you need to stop wasting time and stop saying one day. When the hell is going to be that one day? Make that one day today. What are you going to do today to make you live a better life? To be closer towards your dreams and doing what you want to do, to wake up in the morning with a smile on your face, not dreading life, because I know that you can get there. And little one day things can be something as small as finishing something, starting something like a class, going on a trip, starting your business, getting a new job, saying bye to a relationship that you don't like, kicking a habit. It can be these small things that all together, again, make up this big puzzle piece. And when you put the little pieces together, make up your life. So stop saying one day and start doing things today, please. And the last thing, again, I'm gonna mention it again, is the harder the struggle, the greater the come up. You will see that. It is so true in life, because we all go through tough patches. And I know some people go through rougher patches than others, and life is just crazy. Some things you may see, you're like, I can't even imagine if I would have been able to go through that. Or you may think to yourself, I don't even know how I can handle this. But you can do anything that you want. You will get over anything that you're going through, because you were faced with that challenge for a reason, and there is something to learn from it. And it's a lesson that you needed to come about for you to get to the next step and be the better version of yourself. So the greater the struggle, the better the come up. I know that you can get through whatever it is that you're going through right now, because overcoming this, it's what's going to get you to the new heights in your life that you're looking to get to. Anyway, love, so this video was a lot more out of my comfort zone, speaking of comfort zones, than what I am used to doing, because I like writing these things, but to tell you the truth, it's a lot harder to express them out loud, especially in front of a camera. But just know that I did mean every single little thing that I mentioned in this video. And I know if you're going through a quarter life crisis or a rough patch in life in general, that you are going to get past it. And I know you're going to see brighter days. You just have to believe that, and you have to believe in yourself. And I really want to know what you thought about this video, because I have a lot more things of this nature to share with you. I'd love to make a video on what to do if you hate your job. I also wanted to do a video on how to get out of a funk, just like a daily funk, something of that nature. So if you're interested in these kinds of videos, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it. And like I mentioned in the video, I actually have a Monday motivation newsletter that I send out every single Monday to your inbox. So if you're interested in that, you can always leave your email down below or send me a DM on Instagram, and I will add you to my list. And other than that, I hope you have a great day. Stay positive. I know you can do it, and bisous. Bye.